Yes.
Salam alaikum. This is Greg Kovalik introducing week 15 of the Quran Believers class. The subject today is the term Ummah, meaning community. I'm going to turn this over to Farouk Peru. Unfortunately, Aisha Musso had conflicting schedules, and the rest of us, will have to fill in for her. Thank you all.
Uh,
That's
Waleed, did
right.
you want to start with Fatiha? Sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Too big a hurry. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka nabudu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata al-ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amen.
Ameen.
Bring it over.
Thank you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. I welcome to Q40 week 15. Today we will be discussing the concept of Ummah along with unity and diversity as well as sectarianism. Rather tall order, but um, I was told that we do need to finish these concepts today. Um, I want to thank all of you for agreeing to start an hour earlier, just for my benefit, because I have something on at 10 p.m. and I have to go before the class usually ends. So I will begin with the concept of Ummah. Ummah comes from the word which is a very common Arabic word meaning mother. Ummah is never used specifically in the Quran for rejectors, uh, but rather as a general concept or as a concept for believers. So, for me, the reason why Ummah comes from the word is because an Ummah as a society acts as a mother would towards her child, in a nurturing, protective sense of the word. Of course, there can also be bad ummahs, but there can also be good ummahs. Uh, as a general concept, the ummah earns independently for itself. So we start with chapter 2, verse 134, which says, Tilka ummatun qad khalat, laha ma kasabat, walakum ma kasabtum. So this is an ummah. They were an ummah that has passed away. For them is what they earned, and for you is what you earned. You will not be asked for what they did. So hence here we can see that there is a sense of independence. So whatever ummah we belong to, we will be earning based on that consciousness. Ummahs also have time limits. So Allah says in chapter 7, verse 34, every ummah has a term appointed, and when that term is reached, not an hour can they cause delay, nor can they advance it. This, in my opinion, is based on the conditions that the ummah set upon themselves. So they can be in an Ibrahimi state, as in on the consciousness of Ibrahim, in which case they're okay, or they can dilute that concept, in which case they are on a downward trajectory until such time they simply disappear. Where does the word ummah first appear in the Quran? This is in chapter 2, verse 1 to 8. And this is especially a very dear passage to me. This is in my favorite passage in the entire book, really. Um, uh, it's a prayer by Ibrahim and Ismail. They said, Rabbana waj'al muslimaini laka. Our Lord, make us two Muslims to you, as in two Muslims to you or for you. Wa min dhurriyatina, and from our progeny, ummatan muslimatan lak, a Muslim ummah for you. Wa arina manasikana, and show us our actions, وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا, and return upon us, إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. You are the facilitator of return and the nurturing. So here you have the first use of the word ummah, which is ummatun muslimatun. Um, you could say a Muslim ummah, but I do not believe that this Muslim ummah here is equivalent to when the term Muslim ummah is used in everyday language. The reason for that is Ibrahim has already established a system. If you read from verse 1 to 2 up till this point, he established, Allah gave him the house, which is a refuge for mankind and a safe place. That's verse 1 to 5. And then Ibrahim asked to feed the people of this house with fruits and to build the foundations of this house. So I think there you can see that this is connected to a particular experience. It is not like you were born of a particular religious culture and you are part of the ummah. No, that's not how it works. You have to literally participate in the action in order to be ummatun muslimatun, the Muslim ummah in the Quranic sense of the word. In the same passage, there is also the concept of best ummah or middle ummah. So that's in chapter 2, verse 143. And it says, وَكَذَلِكَ, and like that, جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. We made you a middle ummah or the best ummah, that you may be witnesses upon the people. وَيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا, and the messenger is upon you a witness. So at this point, to me, because this is from the same passage, this is where the ummah on the model of Ibrahim reaches its peak. So why does it start with وَكَذَلِكَ, or like that? Because it maps back to the first part of the passage. In fact, the previous verse, Allah says, Allah guides you onto the straight path. You know, like what he was reading in Fatiha, he was saying, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. That word is mentioned in the previous verse. And the straight path there is the path that allows us to come to a state of karma, or to be in a stable, established state. And this is what makes us the middle ummah. And you are the middle ummah not because you want to dominate others, but rather because you want to be witnesses upon others. In other words, when they are in trouble, that's when you act in order to help them. This is the point of the ummatan wasatan. So usually in normative Islamic discourse, when they talk about it, it's not really on that model. In fact, I have a few hadith which directly contravenes that model. I won't go into hadith now, sorry, but you know, when I saw this for the first time before, it really shocked me to see the difference in mentality of the ummah. It's also the same in chapter 3, verse 110, which says, uh, the best ummah. Here it says, kuntum khaira ummatin. Khaira ummah. There is wasatan, here is khair. Khair means to bring goodness to people. Kuntum khaira ummatin ukhrijat linnas. You are the best ummah brought out for the people. If you notice here, people are being mentioned. Ta'muruna bil ma'ruf, you administrate them with what is recognized. Wa tanhauna anil munkar, you prevent what is unrecognized. Wa tu'minuna billah, and you seek security with Allah. And if only the people had the book had faith, it would be best for them. But most of them are rebellious. So here you can see the model of the ummah as envisioned by the Qur'an. And the Quran is essentially about people as opposed to a particular religious culture. There is a core to that ummah, and that core are the followers of the messenger, and they generally do good for mankind. So I can stop here for a few minutes if you guys want, and we can have a discussion.
Sure. I would like to say I did not notice before um, that I love that we're studying this. I just want to say that. And I love that we have codes, like we have codes of conduct to be part of the Ummah. And I love even more the last verse you just said, Surah Al-Imran 110. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. Um,
Okay.
like how beautiful that all the good works we are supposed to do is for everybody, not for chosen ones, not for a select few, but for all of God's creation. And I would even assume, even though it says nas, I would even assume that taking care of stray animals and our environment and earth. I know the Quran refers to earth as a her, as a she. I don't know if we can say she is Mother Earth, but then again, I think, yeah, like I think traditional Islam, mm, it was all about us. Yeah. Us as in, I need to pray all my prayers. I need to do all these things. I can't talk to you right now. I am, I don't know, fasting and I can't break my fast because you're gonna upset me and I'm gonna lose my temper and I cannot control myself. Yeah, what we're seeing actually is God's creation undiscriminated against. And I love that. It's once again showing us universalism. Thank you.
Khadija, this utterly surprised me as well. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I came to this position. If you look at chapter 2, verse 1 to 5, which is slightly before the verse I quoted, it says, وَإِذْ جَعَلْنَا الْبَيْتَ مَثَابَةً لِلنَّاسِ وَأَمْنًا. And we made the house a rewarding place for people and a safe place. That's the house of God, a rewarding place for people and a safe place. Can we
Yeah.
find safety anywhere in the world?
No,
Oh my
no,
gosh.
no, no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. The Quran it does have an emphasis on going beyond the religious boundaries and embracing people. And by the way, the animals would be included in Al Alameen.
I
So
mean,
I like that.
yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
yeah. If
Thank
you go
you.
chapter 21, verse 107, it says, "Wama arsalnaka illa rahmatan lil alamin," and we sent you. We did not send you except as a
Mercy
mercy
to all the
unto Al
world.
Alamin. Yeah, there you go. The world. So I would say animal kingdom, planet, plants, you know.
I have a question that calls back to our earlier discussion. Is the modern technological world where we can talk to anyone across the planet a whole new Ummah or just a variation of the one we already have?
Gosh. Ooh. See, on one hand, we are bringing together our minds. But the thing is, the Ummah, as far as I can see from the Quran, is like some physical action which you need to do in your life. So we are not an ummah in that sense. But in terms of the meeting of the minds, I would say yes, we are, because we are nurturing each other in a spiritual sense of the word. So it's not an easy one to answer there.
That's okay. Teacher that I often refer back to once said that an answer is a place to stop thinking about the question. So I don't need an immediate answer.
True, true, true. True. Yeah. Shall I go on?
Yes.
Anyone else? Yeah. Okay. So now we go to the unity concept, the united ummah of mankind. So again, the as can be seen in traditional Islamic discourse, ummah is never used for mankind. You will never hear ummah of mankind. In fact, I have a book which I bought probably 30 years ago. It's called Ummah or nation or something, how to analyze the concept of the Muslim Ummah. Not once did they mention the Ummah of mankind. So when I finally encountered it in the Quran, I was thinking, my God, we have really gone away from this text. Anyway, it starts with chapter 2, verse 213, and it says, Kana nasu ummatan wahida. The essence of mankind was a single nation. فَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ النَّبِيِّينَ مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنذِرِينَ. So Allah raised prophets as bringers of glad tidings and warners. وَأَنزَلَ مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ بِالْحَقِّ. And He descended with them the book in truth. لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ فِي مَا اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ. That they may judge between people in what they deferred. So I think this is a very important concept here. The fact that people, they differ upon themselves, if you continue reading the verse, through something called baghyan bainahum, selfish consumptiveness, apparently, according to the translation. So it's like we want to exploit one another, and this is the reason we can't have a united nation, not the UN, but a nation of mankind, which is singular. We can't have that because we always want to exploit one another. That's what colonialism was about. Going to a person's land, not because you want to better them, but because you want to enslave them in some way. If not by chains, by currency, or by mentality, or something like that. You don't want the best for them. You want them to be under you. And this is the opposite of the Quran's vision. And in fact, if you read the next verse, it talks about entering the garden. Or do you think you will enter the garden before Allah tests you and sees which one of you are the most patient and constant? So that's the challenge of building that one nation. In chapter 10, verse 19, God says, mankind was essentially one nation, but differed later. Had it not been for a word sent forth from their Lord, their differences would have been settled between them. Chapter 11, verse 118 to 119. If your Lord had so willed, He would have made mankind a singular people, but they would not cease to dispute, except on those whom your Lord has nurtured. And for this He created them. And I think that's very important. When I read that phrase, وَلِذَلِكَ خَلَقَهُمْ, for that He created them. So the purpose of creation is actually to come together as a single people. And I think that, to me, that was a very, very powerful idea. The fact that we are to come together, we are to sort out each other's needs, to make sure that everyone is fulfilled. I mean, apparently now 1% of the population, they have the combined wealth of the bottom 40%. I mean, that's just unthinkable. But that's the reality we live in, and that's the opposite of the reality proposed by the Quran. So now we come to the idea of the united ummah of the messengers. So this appears in two chapters, chapter 21, verse 92, and chapter 23, verse 52. And it says, Inna hadhihi ummatakum. Verily, this is your ummah, ummatukum wahida, ummatan wahida, a singular ummah. Wa ana rabbukum, and I am your Lord, or your nourisher and sustainer. Fa'budun, so serve me. So I thought that this is very interesting. All the messengers here, if you look at chapter 23, verse 51, it addresses all messengers. They are to come together for one single ummah, and Allah says, Ana Rabbukum, I am your Lord. So when Allah says Ana, this is something very rare. This shows the presence of God. So God is there. He is present when we are trying to be united. And He says, so serve me. So in other words, follow my system, do exactly what I tell you to do, And in the other passage, it says, "Fattaqun," or be mindful of what I tell you, and fulfill my covenant, kind of thing. So, what's the context of these two verses? We discussed that. What's the connection with chapter 2? Chapter 2 says Ummatan Wahida. Here also says Ummatan Wahida. But chapter 2 talks about it in a general sense with the prophets, but here it talks about the messengers. And chapter 5 also has that idea with the connection of the messengers and the messenger under the book. And I think that's also very crucial. Ummah is also present in nature. There's this word ummah. No other word in the Quran to connote grouping is used for natural things. Yeah. So it says, chapter 6, verse 38, there is not an animal on the earth nor a being that flies on wings, but forms ummahs like you. Nothing have we omitted from the book. So I thought, I mean, there are two ways to understand it. The book here being the wider book of nature. But then recently I noticed that the Quran is actually in the wider context of this passage. So perhaps in order to understand the Quran, we should look at nature as well and see how nature operates in terms of its ummah concept. And maybe then we can come to understand these ideas. So maybe I can stop here and you guys can take it away.
I could chew on that.
Sorry. If I may put in a word about the Ummah of nature, one of the most common subjects you often hear in lectures about teamwork or lectures about society is taking a lesson from the migrations of geese and how geese, as a unit, they don't have one leader that leads all the time. When the leader gets tired, the lead goose, it falls back and another goose replaces it. And also, if a goose is disabled or something happens to it and it has to go down to earth, other geese always come and stay with it until it's able to come back to join the flock. So their system is very well regulated. And the more you study it, the more fascinating it is, because it sounds almost human, but in an ideal type of human form.
Wow, Linda, this is just like Quran chapter 24, verse 41. Wow. I did not know this. Wow, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that.
It is also known as swarm intelligence, what Linda is describing. So when they are in this close formation, right, they are not telepathic, but they somehow move together as a unit. And they move with a singular goal. It's very amazing, actually, right? Even a small number of people, if we transpose that to another context, right, that we find today the elite control 8 billion people, right? I'm sorry, I'm probably going to a tangent that I should not. But their goal is to move, right, as a unit to control us. And they do it in a way that is so fantastic. We Muslim today, I'm trying to make my comments shorter, right? We are this 213, right? Farooq was talking about earlier. For me, to the end, that line, فَهَدَى اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لِمَا اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ مِنَ الْحَقِّ بِإِذْنِهِ, right? So Allah will take those who have believed, guided them away from this discord, these differences, to the truth by His permission. Guided, it is a past tense. I have often asked myself this question. In the past, He had done that. Does He do it now? Would He do it now? And if He does it now, why is it that we are not being guided collectively or individually so that we can move away from these differences of sectarian ideologies, their stories, right? All these things that we are suffering from as a unit, right? We are being pulled in different direction. So is Allah going to guide us now or not going to guide us because the Quran is the only guide? That how come it's not uniting us if the Quran is the only thing, right? So we have to really ponder on this kind of propositions, so that we can open up the possibilities of things, so that we can also reframe, our conceptual understanding of things. There's a benefit to it, and the benefit is usually, I think, that when we change the rule of reframing. Oh, my battery is low. It's about to go down. I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead. I have to make my laptop. So the conceptual reframing, right, or for emotional benefit, it helps us to see things in a different frame. So when you see things in different frame, we can probably solve the problem in a different way and understand things in a 21st century context. Right now, we're so stuck in traditional stories, right? Those stories are controlling our lives in such a way. This this earlier description of Linda with the birds, right? We have to understand this. There's not a single one bird controlling them. It is amazing. And they're not even telepathic, right? So they're moving as a singular unit. How can we inculcate that in us? We are Quran alone or God alone, right? We have to be able to really reconceptualize things and radically rethink the terminology in the Quran, what exactly it is trying to tell us. And it is very fluid, by the way. It is like a Quranic interpretation would always change with the timeline. Every Arabic word is fantastically constructed with its root structure in such a way that we can never finish interpretation of Quran until the day we meet God. He would know the final interpretation, not us. None of us can have the last word in the Quran, what it means. So we have to be so not flexible. We have to be really, very careful that we do not become doctrinal or dogmatic in our belief system. Flexible. Anyway, I'll land there. I have to take out my laptop. Sorry.
Thank you, Said.
I call what you just described creeping orthodoxy. I have seen it in very, very many supposedly Quranist groups across the years, going all the way back to Yahoo groups. Groups will start to agree on something, and suddenly that becomes the only acceptable truth. And that is not the way it works.
Yeah, subhanAllah. It's like Allah is giving us the big picture, right? Like you guys have this enemy, and this is the two outcomes, positive or negative. We're testing you on what you're gonna do. And then we sit here and just divide over the small, where do you put your hands or how many times do you pray? It's very disappointing. So inshallah, I think this could be the beginnings of a, a revolution that is non-violent, right? A revolution of reframing the mind and how we conceptualize things and how we apply the Quran today. That's what I want to see, inshallah. We cannot divide over this small things like Sayyid was talking about. There are people out there, a small group of people that are controlling the masses globally. So we need to unite because the believers have the support of Allah, which is something they can never have. And that's all you really need, right? So alhamdulillah for everything.
If I may quickly add one more thing, Brother Mohammed, I appreciate what you said. It really is beautiful, but you have to ask yourself this question. In Rashid Rida, Muhammad Abdul, Jamal al-Afghani, right? They tried the same method that we are working on today, right? A lot of us actually, right? They had worked very hard. Afghani and Rashid Rida, right, worked very hard to bring the Ummah back into this one, coherent unit, right? And they didn't succeed. I had to ask this question myself a lot. This ayah 213, right? The whole ayah is amazing. It is so so perfect for our timeline we are in, right? If we understand the broad and the narrow understanding of this verse, right? And the question, propose the proper question, powerful questions, right? I think we will find an answer, because I think this is a key to finding ourselves a way out. I think also Rashid Rida and Afghani, with their hard work, why they were not successful at the end. But anyway, I'll end there.
Yeah, I'm actually
Um,
not familiar with who those people are. Send me a link later if you can. I'm not entirely sure who those people are.
they're
Okay.
reformists from the previous century, Mohammed. They're
Yes.
reformist figures.
But Brother Sayed, I wonder how much success they would have now if they had social media and communication. And not only that, we're able to see oppression and dhulm in front of us. We don't have to go to the marketplace anymore. We see it from our phones, from our TV. I see what's happening in Sudan. I know who was involved in Sudan, right? So, uh, so we now can see dhulm. Let's just call it dhulm. We are exposed to them on an everyday basis, and we are in communication with each other on an everyday basis. So I wonder if they had social media or had the internet the way we do today, would they have been successful, do you think?
Well, that is something Bill Ghaib. I wouldn't know that, Uh, so my point is, we have to ask the question why Allah is saying He has guided them, right, in the past tense. So what are the proposition today from Allah to us regarding our divisions, regarding our state of affairs? It is, I don't know. I studied a lot about these things, right? I am a polymath, so I have 25 years of my life I spent not working but studying Islam and stories of Islam, right? And our books and our scholarly opinions, right? And I noticed that there are so much flaws, so much misconception from Talmud, right? Most of Hadith, by the way, you can literally go to Talmud and you can just say, "Oh my God, they are just quoting Talmud," right? So
Yeah.
Ka'b ibn Ahbar, right, the son of this rabbi who became Muslim, right, at the time of Umar bin Khattab, you can find a lot of Hadith from his sources, actually, right? So my point is, we have to know the past. Why Allah did with the Jews and the Christians about this ayah? He's talking about them too here, right? Because they're integrated in the Quran. We cannot divorce them from our understanding of the Quran. We cannot divorce the people of the book, right? So what their story tell us, we have to study that. We have to look into that. Then it will make a lot more sense as to understanding this, especially this unique line. Is that one unique line in the Quran that is very specific? He's saying for the believers, he will guide them, right? Not anybody else. So we have to be able to really reconstruct and build a theory, all right, that kind of makes sense to others. That look, God is not divorcing us. Actually, it is us we are divorcing God, right? So we have to bring God in this equation in such a way that we have no other options. It is all about God. That's it. Khalas, right? But anyway, let Brother Farooq speak because his time is short.
One moment.
Oh, thank you.
I got one question. And this is just food for thought. We have all these different sects, and we're going in five dozen different directions. What are the Jews doing right that we should learn from? Because you don't see this among Judaism. I just got to throw that question out there. I'm not looking to convert, but I've got Jewish friends, and they are pretty much, this is our religion, and they're very straight on that path. God bless them. I mean, why can't we do that? What are they doing right that we're missing? Thank you.
Wali, just to answer your question there, I mean, from my interactions with the Jewish people, um, it seems to me that the mentality they bring to their midrash, which is the Muslim madrasa equivalent, only by name, not by policy, is that the midrash aims to awaken their minds. So there's absolutely nothing wrong if you go there and you say, I'm sorry, I find this Adam and Eve story to be rather ludicrous. That's fine over there, but try saying that in a madrasa. Oh boy, I wouldn't like to be the child who says that, you know. So I think that's the problem, really. They don't allow thinking as much as they should, whereas the Jews do.
Thank you. I'll shut up now.
No problem. So, just to proceed, so now we come to the concept of messengers. Every ummah is sent a messenger and a witness. So this starts from chapter 4, verse 41. It says, how then if we brought from every people a witness, and we brought you as a witness over these people? So this is a continuous process. Chapter 10, verse 47, for every people is sent a messenger. When a messenger comes, the matter will be judged with them, between them with justice, and they will not be wronged. Chapter 16, verse 36, these are all in the notes, by the way. We assuredly sent among every people a messenger with the command, serve God and steer clear away from transgression. The people of whom God was guided and on whom some became in error, so travel through the earth and see what was the end of those who denied. Chapter 16 again, verse 89, it says, one day we will raise from every ummah a witness from them, and we will bring you as a witness against these people. We sent down to you the book explaining everything, a guide and a mercy, glad tidings for the Muslims. Obviously, here Muslims is in the Quranic sense of the word. So this process, as I see it, is a continuous process. It's almost like the Quranic version of sociology, how societies evolve and ultimately devolve. And I do believe that when this process is stunted in some way, then that society will continue to be on a downward trajectory. So that's a wider concept of ummah. But the Quran also has the ummah within an ummah concept. And this is in chapter 3, verse 104. We read 3110 earlier. This is in chapter 3, verse 104. And it says, وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ, let there be among you. Who is the you here? If you look at the addressee, it's the believers, and ummah. So among the believers is an ummah, يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ, calling to the good, وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, and enjoining with the recognized, وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, and preventing from the unrecognized, and these are the successful. So I would say that within the ummah is a social structure, but within that, there are people who are actually performing the core values of that ummah. And I think we can also witness this as well. You know, we see it among every religious group. There are most people kind of lax, but there are some people who are highly ideologized and driven. So I think this is what's being referred to here. Chapter 7, verse 159, it says, from the people of Musa, there is an ummah who guide with the truth, and they also establish justice. So again, you have an ummah within an ummah, and they are performing just acts. And the same is repeated in chapter 7, verse 181. So there was 159, this is 181, and it says, of those we created are people who directed others with the truth. Again, the same word is used, yahduna bil haqq, and they also they establish justice. The same phraseology is used. So, but what's the context of this verse? Yeah, this is 7181. If you read 7180, if I may just retrieve it, 7180 struck me as particularly powerful. It says, وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى, and to Allah belongs the beautiful names. فَأَدْعُهُ بِهَا, so invoke Him with them. وَذَرُوا الَّذِينَ يُلْهِدُونَ فِي أَسْمَائِهِ, so shun those who seek refuge in some of His names. For what they do, they will soon be requited. So this is the first occurrence of the very famous phrase Asma'ul Husna, or beautiful names. So Allah is saying here, don't seek imbalance in these names. What this means is, okay, some names may connote mercy. Don't be overly merciful. Some names may connote strength. Don't be overly strong or dominating over people. Rather seek a balance. So if you look at the next verse, which says dispense with justice, ya'dilun, the word adl actually means to be equal. So we are actually seeking a balance with God's names. And this is what the Ummah within the Ummah is supposed to do. And this probably connects conceptually to the concept of the middle Ummah. Chapter 2, verse 143, which we looked at earlier. So now we come to the diversity within the Ummah. So God recognizes that within the social structure, we don't all have to be zombies, right? We can have core values, but we can also have differences. So in chapter 2, verse 148, so chapter 2, verse 148, same passage as what we started with earlier, it says, وَلِكُلٍّ وِجْهَةٍ هُوَ مُوَلِّهَا. To each is an expression. He is the one who turns you to it. So each of us, we have our own individuality, right? And it's God who turns us to that individuality. فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ, so race towards all that is good. Dr. Musa loves this phrase. She quotes chapter 5, verse 48, though. This is from chapter 2, verse 148. فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ, so strive or race towards the good. So you have your individuality, that's your differences, but come together towards all that is good. Wherever you are, God will bring you together, and God has power over all things. So that's the idea. We are seeking our own portion from the greater good, work that portion. That's okay, we can be different, but we are working towards the same goal. And now we come to the ayah which Dr. Musa always quotes. That's chapter 5, verse 48. So if you notice, there's a numerical similarity here. Chapter 2, verse 148, and chapter 5, verse 48. So I'm not putting any significance to that. I'm just saying it's worth noticing. It says, وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ بِالْحَقِّ, and we descended to you the book with truth. مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ, confirming that which is between its two hands from the book. So when you get the book, parts of the book, you have understanding, it will confirm what the book already says in the text. وَمُهَيْمِنًا عَلَيْهِ, and a watcher over it. فَحْكُمْ بَيْنَهُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ, so judge between you with what Allah has, between them with what Allah has revealed. وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَهْوَاهُمْ, and do not follow their lusts and desires. أَمَّا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ, when there has come to you the truth. لِكُلِّ جَعَلْنَا مِنْكُمْ شِرْعَةً وَمِنْهَاجًا, to each of you is a disclosure and a method. So Allah discloses a bit of reality to each of us, and for each of us it's a methodology of doing what we are supposed to do. And if He made us a uniform ummah, no, sorry, let me just get to that. If God had willed, He would have made you a single people, but His goal is to test you with what He has given you. So this is going back to what Walid was saying, creeping orthodoxy. Some people are like, oh, whoa, 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 you have a difference with me? Not cool. But Allah is saying, this is your test. And guess what comes after that? The same phrase, Aisha Musa's phrase there, fastabikul khairat. So strive towards all that is good. Ilallahi marji'ukum jami'a. To Allah is your collective return. So here we can see Ummah is what we belong to, but we can have our individuality as long as we come together in the pursuit of the greater good. And in Surah Al-Hajj, chapter 22, there is twice Allah uses the phrase for every ummah. Verse 34, he says, for every ummah do we appoint rights that they may celebrate the name of Allah over the sustenance that He gives them. But your God is one God, so to Him you submit. And the other verse is verse 67, which says, for each ummah we have appointed rites and ceremonies which they must follow. Let them not dispute with you on the matter, but invite them to the way of your Lord, for you are assuredly on the right path. So I think this is indeed very important that it's in chapter 22. If you remember, we read chapter 21 and chapter 23 before, which says that the messengers all belong to one ummah. And here Allah is saying for every ummah, they have their ways of doing things. Do not dispute with them. So there you have it, unity and diversity. Chapter 21 and 23 is the unity. Chapter 22 gives you the diversity. So now what about personal diversity? There we've seen diversity within the ummah. Now we also have personal diversity. This is in chapter 64, verse 16. Allah says, so be mindful of Allah as much as you can. Listen and obey and spend in charity for the benefit of your own soul. And those saved from the covetousness of their own souls, they are the ones who achieve prosperity. And this is a very rare phrase, yeah? Shakhu nafs is the covetousness of your own souls. All of us have it. You know, we think to ourselves, shall I spend in the way? Then you think to yourself, but the new phone is out, you know, I'll do that next month. I'll just get the new phone now. That's something which you need to confront in order to get closer to God. Chapter 17, verse 84, it says, say, for each deeds according to his own or her own disposition, but your Lord knows who is best guided on the way. So God knows that we each have capacities, we each have our own dispositions. So there we can see that indeed God understands this, and we are to proceed according to our own capacity. This is chapter 17, verse 84. But if you look at chapter 17, verse 85, it talks about the Spirit. They ask you concerning the Spirit, say the Spirit comes with the command of my Lord. So I would say this shows that you need to listen to your inner voice and see what God guides you to. God will guide you to that which is appropriate. So finally, we come to the concept of breaking up the ummah. And breaking up the ummah is not really breaking up the ummah, because it's actually farraqu dinahum. In other words, splitting up the religion. Not the people, but the religion. There is no concept of farraqu ummatahum, splitting up the people. No, but the splitting up comes when you split up the principles of the religion. If you look at chapter 6, verse 159, it says, Inna alladhina farraqu dinahum. Verily those who split up their religion, وَكَانُوا شِيَاعًا, and they become sects, لَسْتَ مِنْهُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ, you have not to do with them. You are not from them anything. Their affair is with Allah. He will inform them of what they did. So this is chapter 6, verse 159. If you read from chapter 6, verse 151 to 158, allow me to go there, please. This is chapter 6, where I will read the principles, and we will see what happens when we split those principles. So it starts with 151. It says, say, I will rehearse what Allah has prohibited you from. Join not anything as equal with him. Be good to your parents. Kill not children for plea of want. We provide sustenance for you and for them. Come not near shameful deeds, whether open nor secret. Do not take a life that Allah has made sacred except with justice. Thus He commands you that you may learn, that you may think. And come not near to the orphan's property except to improve it until he reaches the age of strength, and give measure and weight in full with justice. No burden do we place on any soul other than which it can bear. Whatever you speak, speak justly, even if it's your near relative, even if your near relative is concerned. Fulfill the covenant of Allah, that He may command you, that you may remember. Verily, this is my way leading straight, so follow it. This is the Siratul Mustaqim. Again, goes back to Fatiha as Walid recited. So this is the straight path. So follow it, and do not follow any other path that it will scatter you from this path. That is what He commands you, that you may be aware. Then we gave Musa the book completely, and for those who would do right, and explaining all things in detail, a guide and a nurturance for those who believe in the meeting with their Lord. And this book, we descended it, blessed, so follow it. So there we saw follow the straight path. Here now we see follow the book, and be mindful that you may attain mercy. So this is the principles. And then God talks about splitting, until we come to that particular verse which talks about splitting up the deen. So where did we get the deen from? We got the deen from those principles. And for those people who split those principles, let's say they don't want to establish justice anymore, what happens? God is saying, you don't have anything to do with them. Traditionally, this is referring to the messenger, but I believe that all of us should be also referred to with this. So now we see sectarianism as idolatry. So this is chapter 30, verse 30 to 32. Let me just pull that up. فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا. So establish your expressions for the deen in the fully inclined way, as in Hanifan. This fitrat Allah, this is Allah's nature, which Allah has naturalized mankind upon. There is no change in the creation of Allah. ذَلِكَ دِينَ الْقَيِّمِ. This is the establishing deen, and most of people do not know. So this is the core principle, to be of the Ibrahim's path, and Ibrahim's path, Hanifan, is fully outlined in the Quran. And then in the next verse it says, Munibina ilayhi wattaquhu, turning back to Him. Why? Because we are constantly being diluted. We follow Ibrahim's path, but then we may fall back. We may sidestep it in some ways, or we may simply slip and fall. But he says, keep returning to it. Wattaquhu, and be mindful. Wa aqimus salah, and establish the connection. Wa la takunu minal mushrikeen, and do not be of those who associate. So God has given you a way to be devoted fully to Him, but do not associate. You associate by, as we've seen, by splitting the deen. And the next verse tells you, مِنَ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُم. Exact same phrase, from those who split up the deen, وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا, and become sects. Again, the same phrase is used. Kullu hizbin bima ladayhim farihun. Each party is happy with what they have. I think we witness this a lot anyway. But why does the verse start with fa'akim, so establish? I believe this is because it starts with verse 28. Verse 28 says, He does propound to you a similitude from yourselves. ضرب لكم مثلا من أنفسكم, a similitude from yourselves. This is unique. There is no other similitude from yourselves. The similitudes usually come in the earth or from the book and so on, but this is a similitude from yourselves. Do you have partners, those whom your right hands possess, to share as equals in the wealth that we have bestowed to you? Do you fear them as you fear each other? So Allah is telling us basically we should not have any other sources which we take our deen from. We are supposed to take our deen, our religious principles from Allah. And Allah gives us the basic core principles on how to live. We should simply not compromise these principles. That's why in the next verse God says, بَلِ اتَّبَعَ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَهْوَاءَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. The wrongdoers follow their lusts and desires without knowledge. And but those who guide, sorry, let me just. But who will guide those whom God leads astray? For them, they will have no helpers. So if we keep building delusions for ourselves, we build lust and desire. Say, for example, we say, well, if I don't exploit others, I will never make money. Now, this is a delusion. Why? Because God has said in the Quran, you have to be fair with people, you have to be open and honest with people. But we say, no, this is not true. But God says, these people, they will be led astray. Led astray here, I don't believe is something conceptual. I believe that being led astray means that you are literally veering off the path and you will ultimately be on a trajectory towards destruction. And there will be no helpers for you because God has abandoned you. And that's why in the next verse comes, the verse we started with, 30:30, which says, فَأَكِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا. So turn your face to the deen as one who is fully inclined. And this is the natural deen which Allah has placed you upon. And there will be no change in the creation of Allah. In other words, all our natural dispositions are in this set of principles. And if we don't follow this set of principles, we are abandoning our nature, and thus we are on course towards destruction. I believe the world is on this course at the moment. So that's where I will end today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. So, does everybody agree? We're closing down this class for today. All right. Any final comments?
I have
Any
some
additions?
comments, but it doesn't have to be for this class if Brother Farouk has to go.
No, Khadija, I have 15 minutes. I
Oh,
have 15
okay,
minutes.
cool.
Yeah,
Let's
fine.
continue the discussion.
I'm so grateful, Brother Farouk, that you've kind of broken this down for us. A lot of these verses I've read before, but I never noticed, which is the whole point of this, is to notice. So I'm really, really grateful. I wanted to ask about the diversity in the Ummah, the celebrations and rites. This caught my attention only because mainstream Islam seems to prefer to just wipe out all traditions and wipe out all celebrations, except for like the couple of Eids that we have, maybe. What is your, like, when you read that verse or the verses regarding diversity within the Ummah, is God like saying that we can keep our festivities, we can keep our celebrations as long as we are serving God alone?
I believe so, yeah. Well, God did
Okay.
say don't dispute with them. So
Yeah,
I
he
take
did
it
say
as that.
that.
Yeah. don't dispute with them. Yeah.
So leave the traditions, leave the festivities, leave the happiness.
I believe so,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean I will participate in them. Yeah. So
Mm.
back in the day, I attended a Maulid ceremony, the birthday of the Prophet, and they left a chair there, apparently that the Prophet would come and join them. Now, if you ask me today to go to that, I would say no, thank you very much. I don't really,
Yes.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had
But
an
I
Yeah.
joined
amazing
Christmas
experience.
celebrations. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Farooq.
No, I'm just saying I go to Christmas dinners every year, but I don't go to midnight mass. So, but
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so there are
Yes.
limits. Yeah.
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 I had
We
an
have to
amazing
watch for
experience.
we
Go
have to
ahead,
watch for that edge of shirk.
Yes,
Mm.
There is
yes.
that there's a cliff face that you can stand on the edge of. I'm not going over close to that edge.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Said you were saying something, bro.
The sect that you are talking about, right? So I had a dealing with him one time. I don't want to name them because I
No,
think
no, no, don't do that, please. Okay.
yeah, I don't want to name the sect, but it's not necessary. But the amazing experience was a new convert sister came to the masjid, that masjid one day. I think it was month of Ramadan. I forget now. It's been about 10, 12 years ago. So there was a chair, right, by the imam's place in the masjid. It was an empty chair. So there are other
Yeah.
chairs. People are occupying those chairs, right? So the sister comes in. She was going to tell us how she joined Islam, became Muslim, what have you. So the Imam invites her to come to the forefront, give the talk, right?
She sits
So,
in that chair.
Farooq, do you know what happened? She
She
came
Oh
to
sits in
God.
that chair.
Oh God. Oh God.
but
Oh,
anyway,
bro.
so I'm not going to go into details, but that's enough. So I think Khadija's sister, you know what I meant by that, right?
Yeah.
She sat on the chair.
Oh my
So it
God.
was a literal panic
Oh
and
my
freaking
gosh.
out of the people there with the
That
congregants.
poor sister.
The poor sister, the white woman, was looking at the chair, jumping up, not realizing what she had done so wrong. I mean, could she not sit among the men or what? No, no, no. It was okay to sit among the men, but
Not
she
that
sat
chair.
on she sat on something that she's not been sitting on. No one told her that. So this is amazing. The sectarian
Yeah.
divides and the stories that we tell ourselves, right? And
Yes.
the question is why we choose the stories, the ones we choose, right? And for me, the bigger problem is why do we need the stories or myth to make us care about things?
Yeah.
And the test is this. This is the test, right? When those stories fall apart, what do we learn from it? See, the
Yeah.
sectarians, or even the same question I ask myself. The story that I'm choosing today to be God alone, right? To turn to his book, what is it that led me to it? Have I investigated that? What is it that I'm seeing among the sectarians or these other storytellers, right? That led me to realize that, my God, these people are completely gone mad what they are doing.
Mm.
This is a beautiful book with such advanced way of life and how to,
Yeah.
for me, din means way of life, okay? How you live that life, right? So have this advanced nature in this book, right? Why are these people so misguided, misled?
Yeah.
And if you investigate that, you'll be shocked how
Yeah.
horribly we get influenced by the Jewish and the Christian convert into early Islam, right? And how much they borrowed from the Torah and from the Bible, and those scholars that became Muslim, they immediately became Muslim scholars, by the way. When the Jewish rabbis became Muslim, okay, they immediately became also Muslim scholars because they knew the
There
Jewish
you go.
text so well, they could tell the stories, right? Those stories
Oh.
then infiltrated very casually, without any challenge, into Islam. So a lot of Quranic interpretation of the surahs are so misguided for me, like chapter 71, Surah Nuh, right? Nuha, right?
Um.
If you read it carefully, you will find that it is totally misguided translation for me.
Which bit side? Please tell me. Please tell me.
Chapter
Which.
71. So beginning with,
Okay.
okay, I think
Good.
beginning with
Good. Good.
verse 20 to 26,
Well,
you find
okay.
Nuh. Nuh is literally challenging God one time, and when God is telling him this, he is saying this, which you're not supposed to do. So you have to compare to the chapter 49, verse 10 through 14, right? You will find a lot of stuff Nuh saying, God does not allow those things to condemn other people, to seek lanat on other people, right? As a prophet, right? Prophet is very merciful all the time. Every
Yeah.
prophet they came, they tolerated whatever abuse they had taken, or
Yeah.
I mean, were given to them. But anyway, so we have to be asking ourselves this question: the stories that we are choosing for ourselves, you know, are we trying to be just God alone and also be in a way very sincere, khalis, very sincere about this thing, so God may guide us away from the differences, because jealousy will come eventually.
Oh,
In
yeah.
every sect, it is jealousy. That ayah 2:13, the line before that line is about mutual jealousy. The Jews and Christians went into the different ways because of the truth came to them, nor also came knowledge, right? When knowledge
Yeah.
comes, we compete. It is so astonishing. In the cognitive psychology, you find that very clearly indicated. Knowledge will lead to mutual jealousy because now you're going to compete who has better or higher knowledge.
Wow.
But anyway, so Farooq, it was beautiful. I like to hear more about it, your
Mm.
take on Ummah, and especially the limits, right? Maybe we can
Yeah.
talk about it offline sometime, inshallah.
Or
Anyway,
Said, I tell you, bro, the arrangement of verses containing the concept Ummah, it's mind blowing, man.
It
It's really
is.
absolutely,
mind blowing.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree 100%.
yeah. My gosh.
I think
Uh,
something else I've taken from this class today too is that all of our differences are from God. And where the artist or the illustrator or the cartoonist or the musician that had the gift of music, right? And so let's just, I'm sure there are countries that exist today that they don't like music. Music is from the devil, right? But this is telling us that all of our creativity, all of our, like, what I am inspired to do, right? It goes back to, I suppose, Brother Farouk, would you say this goes back to inspiration?
mm, mm,
The
indeed.
guidance on where today I'm going to focus on this, and tomorrow I'm going to
Mm.
focus on that. This is
You got
kind
to
of,
be in touch with Allah there, you know? Let Allah
yeah,
guide you. I really
yeah.
believe in that. I really believe it. But
And
unfortunately,
guiding,
it's shirk to say it, It's shirk to
What?
say it. Yeah, I just,
it shook.
41:53, we will show them our signs in the far horizons and within themselves
Yes.
until they
mm,
come to believe.
mashallah.
I'm convinced that people of the past have not read this book before.
It seems that way sometimes.
It does. It
And
does.
everybody knows once we have a little bit of knowledge, we become God's trusted advisors, right?
So,
Mm.
I've been
Isn't it?
observing the Malaysian Islamic scene for years now, and one thing I've noticed, they have thousands upon thousands of videos on how to read the Quran properly, memorize, pronounce, sing, but I have never seen a single video where these guys sit and debate the meanings of the text.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've never seen
absolutely.
it. Yeah,
That's the
that's
door we
sad.
need to kick open. Forgive the
Yes,
Yes, bro.
harsh
Yes, bro.
we
expression, but
do.
yes,
Yes,
exactly.
bro.
We do. Oh, and then God's fitrah. I really like that too.
Mm,
I really like that, which I can't remember right now what is his fitrah related to, but I like that he had a fitrah. Because one thing I struggle with in my everyday life when I speak to people is everybody talks about Sunnat al-Nabi, the Sunnah of the Prophet. And then I
mm,
claim, what about God's Sunnah? Right? And then they say, well, God's Sunnah is the Prophet's Sunnah. Well, then why are they two different labels?
mm.
What is God's Sunnah to you? Because I
One's
have an
never found
idea.
in the Quran.
Exactly, they're not. It's not. Exactly. Thank you. Um, and I get a lot of, if they could, they would lash me, I'm sure, for it. Um, but I find it so fascinating that over and over, I think there is a verse that says Sunnatullah. I think there is a
Mm.
Yeah,
Sunnatullah in the
several.
Quran.
There are many
There's a
verses like
Never
that.
Futratullah.
changes.
Yes, there's a Futrah of Allah. Yet, yet I've only ever heard of my Futrah. And my Futrah, apparently, like all babies are born Muslim. right? And it's whether they're baptized, then they don't become Muslim anymore. If they grew up in a Hindu culture, they're not Muslim anymore, but every single baby is born Muslim, right? Because of the fitra, and whether or not we can hold on to our fitra or if it, disintegrates and whatnot. This seems to kind of say, no, that's not correct. There is, like the
Mm.
rainbows and butterflies, those rainbows and butterflies don't really exist. Okay.
It seems to me that our nature is defined by the text. So God gives us
Mm,
various aspects. For example, He says, "Verily, the insan, which I understand to be the lower aspect of man, he is inclined to be hasty."
mm,
So,
Mhm.
so what does Musa tell them? Musa tells them, neutralize your souls. So when you want the hastiness, neutralize that. Instead, turn to God. So these are the concepts which are there in the Quran for our betterment. But
yeah.
instead of doing that, we turned it into religious myth. Or these
Mm,
are the stories of the ancients. Well, guess what? The Quran warns
yes.
against that, for God's sake.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
Absolutely.
uh,
Yes. Wow.
We are like a pack
Incredible.
of toddlers left to their own devices, go running in the road and get run over.
oy, oy.
He's given us the trust, but we need to try to find out where those lines are we're not to cross.
Yeah. Wow. So Brother Farouk, I guess before we close out, how would you summarize an ummah?
So an ummah is a group of people in which there is a channel of nurturance going on. So some of them
Oh, yes.
nurture others,
Yeah.
and not necessarily it's not necessarily the case, but a messenger should lead that ummah. A messenger, if we don't have a messenger, you will have one who is um fluent in the
I
in
suppose we
Quranic
have to
knowledge.
consult. What about like the consultation, the shura aspect? Would that apply, you
Uh,
think? That's it for
yes,
us believers too.
yes, of course, of
Okay.
course. Uh, I mean, the unity aspect is there, but the diversity aspect is within that unity.
Hmm.
Like, so if we say do good, okay, so you can do this, I'll do that, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
You know,
so can I
yeah.
ask, can I like let's say I'm talking to a 5-year-old. So you are in England, I'm in America. Would you have your ummah with you right now? And I would have
Uh,
my own ummah?
well, I'm part of an ummah which is on a trajectory not to God, right? So their trajectory is basically have a good time and
Mm.
spend their lives doing that. I'm not a willing member of that ummah, but I'm here because I believe that the freedom of expression that England offers me is uh, very, very important.
But
Uh,
but
yeah.
let's go a little esoteric with this.
Okay.
You are I say that you are in an ummah and that you are in England, right?
Okay.
But God also says that we are not but that the believers have nothing to do with extracurricular activities that people conduct, claiming to be from God or not, right?
Mm,
Like God says that I have nothing to do with the people from the past, and I have nothing to do with these sects as long as I stay on the right path, right? God will not
yes.
judge me with them, amongst them. So as
Right.
far as the ummah, like I'm just thinking now, I'm in a ummah right now. I don't believe I'm a participant in it because I'm not boots on the ground. I'm not reaching out to the other Muslims here. But then again, we also know that there's different degrees of what a Muslim and a believer are, right? So majority of people that claim to be Muslims, we don't even know if they are actually Muslims, right? Or the
Mm,
same with the believers, right? We don't know what their intentions are. They may be doing good. We may be seeing them doing good, but maybe they're pocketing the money,
mm.
right? That we don't know about until they're charged for it. So, so I guess my question is it really is it as cut and dry? Or is it more like, how, or like there's a verse that says like most of the Muslims are going to hell, I think, and only a small amount of you will be saved or something like that?
If you go to chapter 12, verse 106, it says, the majority of those who believe in God do not do so except with association.
Ooh,
But the
yeah,
majority
okay,
of them
that's a
do
good
not
one.
believe in God.
Yeah, and then I
So,
think Surah Al-Baqarah, the first page, it also talks about that a lot of the dwellers in hellfire will be Muslims, I think.
I've never seen that myself.
No,
Uh,
I'll try.
Majority of
well,
mankind.
Oh, it was
yes,
mankind, not
Yeah.
mankind,
Muslims.
yeah. Chapter
Correct.
12, verse
Oops.
106, yeah,
I've been
yeah.
spreading misinformation. I thought it was
But
Muslims.
But look, when we say Muslims in everyday language, this has no bearing on the Quranic
Yes,
concept of Muslim.
Thank
correct.
you.
I'm not calling them
Yes.
kuffar, yeah? I'm not calling
No,
anyone
we are not.
kafir. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, just because you come from a
you
Muslim
claim.
background, that does not make you a Muslim from a Quranic point of
Yes.
view. That's all
Yes.
I'm saying.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wearing
so
the
today's
the
Ummah is
T-shirt
not the
for
Quran.
Team Muslim doesn't count.
No, it doesn't. Correct.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you. I think I'm understanding I think I have it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that used up all your extra time, Brother Farouk. Shall we close it down?
Yes, please. Yes. Thank you very much, guys, for being very flexible
Thank
with
you,
this.
brother.
I
Thank you.
really appreciate this. I really appreciate this.
No, thank you.
Allah be with all of you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
All
Allah
right. I love you. I love
Okay.
you.
Goodbye.